I'm excited. I'm juiced. I hate that it worked out this way, that I can't be on for longer. So
Yeah, but hey, look, bro, you know you're part of the fam. If you want to jump on the table talk tomorrow night, let me know. We'll clear the deck.
I know I do see those, man, and when I can, I will jump on. It's just like sometimes the wife's like, "No, you're not talking Pistons."
I feel that.
Hey, well, look, what up, though, people? It's your boy Detroit Kool-Aid, and I'm rocking out with Mr. Everything over here, Jeffrey Ayafredi. Look, Detroit News Rod Beard, we got to give him an honorary drum roll for this morning. He's not going to be with us.
You have to.
He had to fly down to Vegas for the NABJ, National Association of Black Journalists Association conference that's going on down there. So shout out to him. Shout out to, I know a couple others down there too. Yeah. Mike Curtis from the Detroit News and others that we know. So shout out to
my guy Omari's out.
What'd you say?
My guy Omari's out there. Omari's
Shout out to Omari. We're gonna get to you. Bryce, why don't you join in for Rod? Let's get the drum roll going. Hey, yo, Detroit News Rod Beard, wherever you are the legend.
He's somewhere cringing right now. Every time he's like, "Damn you boys, man, that drum roll."
Yo, but look, we have a special guest here, man.
Oh, we do.
I'm talking about a basketball mind that I admire. I love talking basketball with this gentleman here, Bryce Simon. You might also know him as Motor City Hoops, and he's also the co-host of the Pistons Pulse with Amari Sankofa of the Free Press. Jeff, what do you think about Bryce before we let Bryce talk?
I love Bryce. When I was on the morning show, I was on it for 7 months, and I got one guest. It was Bryce. That was the only guest I've ever reached out to, and that just because I was so excited. Number one, because Adam's he likes basketball, but I'm like, no, there's a different level to this. I think Bryce is in that level. So I appreciate you, Bryce, man. I've known him for a while. I got his number. We text, and I just love chopping it up with him, man. Like he's one of those dudes.
Love it.
One of those dudes.
And hey, look, our history is funny. We spent some time like in the DMV area at the same time playing college hoops. Now, look, Bryce was on a whole different level with it now.
I seen that jump shot.
Look at him, man. Trying to be modest here. Look, I got an opportunity to play D2 ball in the DMV area at a school that Steve Francis, he was a supporter of, Columbia Union. And Bryce, let's let you talk, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your basketball history, man, and what you do before we get into this Pistons talk.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? We were playing ball. We didn't even know it. And then as we got to know each other, we worked on some stuff for Woodward, and we got to talking, and we were playing ball at the same time. So I did play D1 in the area, in the Washington, D.C. area. I'm from a little town in Kansas. That's where I live. Jeff, man, I didn't know that. I know you had mentioned that you wanted to get me on more or tried or whatever. I didn't know I was your only guest during the morning show, man. That means a lot. That just made my day. My Wednesday is made because of that, Jeff. So I appreciate that. And I'm excited to talk Pistons today.
Let's go, man. The pleasure's mine.
Let's go. Well, hey, let's get into it, you guys. Let's get into it. I had some topics here that we were going to talk about, but I think we're going to just skip through these right now. The Jaden Ivey one, City of Detroit. We will get back to that when we have you on next week. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to ask you quickly, what should we take away from these workout videos that we've seen from Jalen Duren? Now, those have gotten the people absolutely worked up and fired up. You know, usually we hear people say that these summer workout videos, you can't take too much from them. But I think people are starting to drink the Kool-Aid on the Duren ones. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. We also have the Killian Hayes tapes that's come out a couple times. We see he's working on that right hand as well. That's where I wanted to start today. Bryce, your mind, I know you've seen them. I know you've done extensive breakdowns. What should we be taking away from this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I do think it's hard to take too much from those things, right? They're in an empty gym with a trainer. They're all designed. Like, I don't want us to go crazy. We've seen guys make tons of shots in empty gyms like that, and then it doesn't always translate to the court. So until we see it in a game, I don't think we should go overboard. With that said, what I like about the Jalen Duren one is it got people to see some of his upside, which is what I love about this young man. You know, I guess he's a kid, but he looks like a young man. He is a grown-ass man. I hope it's okay for me to cuss a little bit.
Hey, you're good.
You're
good, brother.
But I do think there's a skill level there with him. There's some passing. There's some ball handling. There's some shooting. He can do that stuff. And I think what that video gave people an insight to was there's a foundation there that's going to develop hopefully over the next 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah, you know what? I'm glad that you said that because Troy Weaver was very, very, very ecstatic, very excited when they got Jalen Duren. He said that that's the pick that made them fist pump. We've talked about it on this show. And when we talked about Jalen Duren, we said that that's potentially the other pick that we would want if Troy wound up with 2 first-round picks in the lottery. But we knew that there were some potential limitations based on what some of the scouts and other people and some of the breakdowns on YouTube were saying. But what we're seeing now in these videos, it seems to speak a little bit more to what Troy Weaver was saying. He can do a little bit of everything. This guy, and then when they started talking about Sean Kemp, I'm like, I don't know. He looked like a center in college. Just a straight, kind of rim
traditional
run, pick and roll, what we needed. And then they said, oh, yeah, he's what we need on steroids, so to speak. I don't know, for a lack of better terms. I don't even know if we use that in sports today. But, it's goodness gracious. Like, it really does. It speaks to what Troy Weaver said they were looking to get out of him. And to speak to that upside, I think that that's probably the most we can take from it. The upside and the potential. Obviously, it's a little bit different than the Beef Stew videos where we see him in Summer League knocking down threes, and people say, but it's Summer League. No, that's more or less a continuation of what he showed at the end of last season as well. So to see him come in and look so comfortable doing it, like it's who he is, like he belongs there doing that, which is what we wanted to see out of Killian, look like he belonged. I'm more comfortable with that showing, but as it relates to the upside with Jalen Duren, he is showing, at least on tape in his footage, a lot more than I believed he could do.
Oh, yeah. If you want to include the athleticism as well, I think that's being the youngest player in the draft, the upside, being so raw too. And I got to say, you could see these workout videos in the summer of Jalen Duren getting up jump shots, and I love it, by the way. I'm not going to sit here and say he will stretch the floor year one. I've been seeing a couple of those on Twitter as well. For me, the jump shot looks nice. I'm going to be honest with you. I know Drummond, it took him, quite a few years to really start trying to expand his game and work outside of that, get to the three-point line. But Andre didn't have the jump shot that Jalen Duren has, just naturally. I know he struggled. That was the biggest thing coming out of college, too, with Duren is his free throw percentage. Spacing the floor. He can hit that 15 to 16 footer, which I'm going to be looking for this season. I think he can implement that year one. But going forward, though, if he can expand his game and be able to stretch the floor a little bit with his defensive abilities, his athleticism, he's already probably going to get 8 to 10 points just off playing with playmakers like Jaden Ivey and Cade. But imagine if he can
Killian.
knock down some shots too, those 15, 17 footers, whatever it is. I think there's a lot of potential there. And seeing Sean Kemp as a comparison, I know everyone's, whoa. But it kind of makes, he has those, the raw athleticism and the upside to get to that point. Yeah. And I think he's got the work ethic too.
Yep. And I think the basketball skill as well. Like we continue to talk about, I continue to be enamored at what he's putting on tape. But with the Andre Drummond experience, among others like Sekou and such, I still say, hey, let's see it in the game.
Like Isaiah Stewart.
In the game. Yeah. Like Isaiah Stewart. He showed it, like we said, in season. He showed it in Summer League. And you know where I haven't seen it? In workout videos. That's where I haven't seen it with Beef Stew. So we know he's working on something. We know that. Right. And that's what I love. For our leaders to be those quiet example types, because we don't hear about what Sadiq Bey is doing except for the fact that the trainers, the coaches, the GMs, and the players are saying in the papers, look, we keep telling him to stop. Maybe y'all can get him to stop. You know what I'm saying? That's where we hear about these guys.
No.
Do we hear about Cade working, or is someone posting vids of him working out with the greats, of this league? We didn't even know
Ashton's talking about it.
Or Ashton. And that's what I love. That's what I love. And what I'm hoping that a guy like Jalen Duren, being so young, is picking up on, just work. And we know he got that pedigree, man. That Rasheed 100%. Wallace is in him. So
keep working with Rasheed.
Yeah,
he'll be just fine.
Bryce, I wanted to ask you, Jeff made mention of the 16-footer. I call that the McDice special. Antonio McDice, shout out. Hey, Pistons legend.
I love that.
What is the prospects, man? When you look at Jalen Duren, man, what's the prospects of him really, really, really being able to bring that in year one?
I don't know that I'm super confident in it year one. We did see him take some in Summer League. Now, he wasn't very efficient. He missed them. He missed short, which, not to get into the weeds on this, I'd rather see somebody missing short than left or right. And he did it in a variety of ways. He was doing it off the dribble. He did it square up. He did a little mid-post spin move. So I think it's all there. He just, I don't know that it's going to be consistent in year one, but I believe it's going to be there. I also want to say one thing that slowly started to be dropped little nuggets here and there. I think Jalen Duren was in play at number 5 more than what we all realized on draft night. Like, multiple people now have kind of dropped that nugget quietly and not just like outwardly said it, but that kind of tells you how high Troy Weaver was on Jalen Duren and how ecstatic they had to be to get him at number 13.
Man, so there might have been a scenario where if Jaden Ivey wasn't there, Jalen Duren could have been the pick at 5.
Yeah.
All I want to say is, like, I've heard it on podcasts. I think it's been in a couple articles that he was at least in play. Now, what does in play mean? Does that mean a 10% chance? Does that just mean they liked him a lot? That's all I've heard or read and seen. He was up there.
Yeah. Yep. So that is an interesting nugget, and I can't wait till Rod is back. And like I said, Bryce, clear the time, bro. Be back with us next week so we can talk about this even more with Rod, because that's an interesting thing. That's an interesting thing, like because it speaks even more. If we trust Troy Weaver, especially the early track record that he's set and laid, then what the heck is he actually seeing in Jalen Duren? That should make us even more excited. The fact that he saw Beef Stew, he saw Sadiq Bey, he saw some of these other players that he picked and said, cool, but Jalen Duren was the one he was like, oh, I'm excited. I'm excited. That's the pick, man. I fist pumped. So that was a night, man. When that deal was done, I was happy. Not that he wasn't happy about the Jaden Ivey pick, but that he was ecstatic with the fact that we got this, what I seem to look at as like a transformative player. I thought we were just getting a guy to play a role, but Troy's talking like this guy with a little bit more steam than I've heard him talk about Sadiq Bey and Isaiah Stewart, up to this point.
Yeah.
But I
think what you get with Jalen Duren, real quick, is you get a really high floor, is the way I like to say it. And I know we do this floor ceiling talk all the time. The stuff you're talking about, the lob threat, rim protector, uber athlete, all those things. But there's a ceiling there. Like, I think this is where we're going down, is that I don't think people realized enough or talked enough about. So, like, I've said his floor is somebody like Mitchell Robinson. I think his ceiling is a skill set in that of Bam Adebayo. Like, I'm not saying he's going to reach that. And I know that's one people said about Isaiah Stewart, which I never necessarily saw. But I think Jalen Duren has some of those qualities in at least his offensive game. So you have a high floor guy, but I think you guys have a guy that can have a super high ceiling. So I think maybe that's what Troy Weaver really, really liked about him.
And I like the Bam comparison because he came out a little bit raw too, and he was able to kind of develop that, again, 15, 16-foot jumper. And you see how valuable he is in Miami. Like, he's a 20 and 10 guy. So I love that comparison. I think Duren too, Troy recognized, like we've already seen the reports, the best case scenario for Troy was leaving with Ivy and Duren. Like, over DeAndre, and I'm so glad we're over all this free agency talk. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, this, Troy is the man. More than just his draft evaluation, but understanding the process of building the team the right way. And he understands that Duren and Ivy are perfect fits, and they fit our needs for the Pistons. And I love it, man. If he becomes Bam Adebayo, the Pistons are going to be just fine.
Yep.
He's a great player, all-star player.
Yep. And I love the flexibility as well that it gives Troy Weaver. I'm not sitting here saying the nuclear option of, we lose Sadiq Bey, we lose, Beef Stew down the road, but we know that they can't sign all these guys. What if it does wind up being a triumvirate of Cade, Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, and Jalen Duren? That's something that it becomes very, very attractive. And time-wise, they're a year further out than Sadiq and Isaiah Stewart. So if you have to make a decision contract-wise in a few years, you know that you have these guys. You'll know what they are. You'll kind of know by that time who deserves the next contract. Right. And that's a testament to Troy Weaver, that stacked talent. In the past, it seemed like our guys drafted to protect the positions of some of the middling players they drafted before. Like, well, we have a small forward in Stanley Johnson, so we can't draft another small forward. Whereas with Troy Weaver, he's like, we drafted a guard last year, more guards. Cade Cunningham this year. Then the next year, more guards. Yeah. Like, I want Jaden Ivey.
He's got that BPA approach, like best player available.
Best player available. And it's so different. I don't think we've really seen this here in Detroit sports GM.
Hell no.
Like,
Hell no.
Know. Bryce, have we seen this really from at least Pistons perspective?
Well, what I want to say is, what helps that is Cade Cunningham, right? Because Cade Cunningham's so versatile. And, that kind of plays into Isaiah Stewart being able to shoot the ball. Well, here's the thing about Isaiah Stewart being able to shoot the ball if it happens. it's not about whether he plays the 4 or the 5. I think we get caught up in that too much. It's that he can play with another big who can't shoot the ball. And so he's so versatile defensively. Now on offense, if you could just stand him in the corner and stretch the floor, now you can run him with Jalen Duren or Nerlens Noel. Or if you want to put Kelly Olynyk out there, now you can put Isaiah Stewart back in the ball screen and he can set those highway screens. So it's all about guys having games that are versatile, and it starts with Cade Cunningham, because Cade's going to be a guy that can defend 1 through 3 over the next couple of years as he continues to work on his body. And then offensively, he's so malleable. He can be your leading scorer. He can be your assist guy. He can do whatever you want. And so that's what's beautiful about this.
It's beautiful.
It reminds me of Dwayne's Casey time shortly towards the end in Toronto. Like a lot of versatility. And I think him and Troy see that, because Troy came in with that mindset. Him and Dwayne connected, and Troy had similar, like, how we see the game is like, I want versatility, I want athletes. And Dwayne's like, well, for how I want to run my system, we need athletes, we need versatility. So it's like it's a perfect match. And I think this team, to Bryce's point with Isaiah Stewart, that's the point to hit on. Like, his ability to shoot the ball makes him more versatile. And now you have, if Duren can space the floor, there's so much versatility. Like, you can make 3 or 4 different starting lineups, but you could put Cade at the 3, possibly. You could have a 3-guard lineup with Killian, Jaden Ivey, and Cade. It's incredible.
It is.
That's what you want.
So versatility amongst these players is one of the marks of Troy Weaver. When he's looking at these draft picks, versatility. In case he's put that on wax, he says we want our guards to be able to play both positions, both interchangeable. We want our 3s and 4s to be able to be interchangeable. That's huge. That is huge, because
I feel like that's a new NBA too.
Pluck, pick. You know, all of the criticism on Casey when he didn't have this type of versatility here with the Pistons. Like, think about the times where Casey was criticized early. Think about just the base foundation of talent we have right now that he has now to pluck from.
Right.
Where earlier here he was being like criticized for managing what talent and versatility.
Svi Mikhailuk and you know what I mean, like Drummond and Blake. I mean, I'm sorry, but not a lot of versatility there.
It's not. But look, we had something that kind of got going on Twitter, got going on social media. I see it's picking up as well on Instagram. We're going to clip it and put it up on YouTube as well. So be on the lookout for that. But it was on who needs to step up. Now, in the segment, the full segment, we said in addition to Cade, and we said let's make it easy. No Sadiq Bey, no Jaden Ivey. I clipped it just to see what everyone else's thoughts would be free of those restrictions. And it just, hey, listen, it got the engagement.
I knew I'd get, like, after seeing my opinion, I'm like, really? Everyone's like, this dude picked Isaiah Stewart over everybody else. But you got to know the context.
And I picked Marvin Bagley.
You got to know the context.
Yep. And the context was free of those things.
Yeah.
But it got me to thinking, because I was like, you know what? I want to see what some of these basketball minds would pick, because we just thought it was push button. Cade is going to be that guy. And that's what the segment was about. It was about Cade being that deal, so who else needs to be that deal? But basketball minds like Bryce, shout out to Shams, Pistons Twitter, just legend. These guys, they brought up some good points. It should be Cade. You know, and Bryce, I wanted to ask you, what inspired your thoughts on that? You know, who needs to step up for the Pistons? This was the question. For the Pistons to be firmly in the play-in and challenging for the 6th seed. We said in addition to Cade, Bey, and Jaden, I said Marvin Bagley needed to step up. You stated
Isaiah
Stewart. Mm-hmm. As it related to that question. But you brought up Cade. I just want to get your mindset on it.
Yeah, and I felt bad whenever you tweeted back at us that, you know, that was part of the context. And so I felt bad, and I wasn't trying to call you guys out. And I don't think it's like a slam dunk that it's Cade. I just think if this team were going to make the play-in, which I quite honestly don't, and maybe that's because of I had too high expectations last offseason, so this is like a overreaction to how bad of a take I had last offseason with how good they would be. But if they are going to, I think Cade has to be like an all-star, right? Would you guys agree with that? I feel like if they're going to be in the play-in or 6th seed or whatever you guys are talking about, Cade has to take that next jump. He has to be shooting 35% from 3. 20 points a game, 6 or 7 assists, 6 or 7 rebounds, better defensively. Like, he has to be that all-around dude. And while I think Cade is going to be that, I think that's a lot to ask in terms of a jump from year 1 to year 2. I mean, obviously he needs to make a jump. I just don't know that he's going to make that jump. And then I don't know that they have the number 2 guy on the roster right now. So he's just going to have to be unreal.
No, that's a great point. And I want to say too, Bryce, bringing up Cade, and I didn't take any offense to it because I agree with you. Yeah. I think if Cade becomes an all-star, plays at an all-star level, of course, it's like LaMelo Ball when year 2, the New Orleans, the Hornets, not New Orleans, the Charlotte Hornets. They took off. It's because you have a secure star player, and we'd have Cade Cunningham. If he takes that next step, it's going to bode well for him. For me, and I think a point you hit on at the end too, there's no number 2, and I agree with that. I've been on record saying I feel like this year Saddiq Bey might be the number 2 until Jaden takes off and becomes who we think he'll be eventually, which is a dynamic player. I think he'll be a future All-Star. But just this year, it's so interesting because Cade's going to have, like last year, he had a lot on his shoulders, and there's still some talent, a lot of young talent. But you don't really know the pecking order this year. Like, you don't really know, and I hate using the word 1, a 2, a 3. Like, it doesn't really matter because any given night is what you want with your basketball team. You want guys like, okay, this night might be Saddiq. This night it might be Jaden going for 30. Who knows? And then this night, it may be Cade taking over the game. But this year, I think Cade he's going to be good. I think he'll take a step, but to ask him to play at an all-star level, I agree, man. It is a tough ask. But if he's playing at that level, of course, the Pistons can make the play in, man, if he's playing at that level.
But that's my thing. It's like, was he not playing at an all-star level second half of last season at the end of
and they went 500.
And they went almost 500 in those games with him. There was a couple games that they basically tanked that they pulled them out, and it was just like the whole team it went down. It was almost like the put Steve Blake in the game, and the whole game is tanked. It was like, you pull out Cade, and the game was done. So they effectively played 500, and he was averaging about 21, 7, and 7.
He was balling.
Now, if he takes any marginal step forward next year, the stats might still look the same because we know how averages go. We understand that. He's going to have peaks. He's going to have valleys. Casey said, look, there's going to be nights. I think we're going to hear Casey saying the same thing this year. There's going to be nights when he's scoring 30, nights when he's scoring 10. It's going to be a little different than his 20 and 5 from last year because obviously Cade gets the bump. But this season is the one where I believe Cade is going to firmly look like an all-star caliber player, and I believe that's all he has to get to. I don't believe that he has to make the all-star game, but if he is putting up that same 21, 7, and 6 on a consistent basis, that means he's doing a whole lot, and that means that the team around him is doing a lot, and I believe that will bode well for this team's prospects in at least the play-in.
Right.
I don't know how well that bodes for challenging firmly for the 6th seed, because that's, even though there was just a few games that separated the 6th seed and the teams in the play-in tournament, when you just look at it, there's a difference in quality of team.
Oh yeah, the East is tough, man.
Yeah.
East is like 8 deep.
So that's what I was gonna look up. What record did you have to get last year? 43 and 39. So you're talking last season at least. You had to be above 500 just to make the play-in. That was the 10 seed. Mm-hmm. Now, there was a pretty significant drop-off to the Knicks at number 11. They were below 500. But, you're 500 for the whole season. And so I think to, your guys' point, to your point, Jeff, if Stu is a 35% three-point shooter on 4 attempts a game, and now you can be a little creative with your big man lineup, that would be huge. If Marvin Bagley's a 15 and 8 guy who plays good defense, now you're – now there is a world where it happens, I guess.
Preach about
I'm
it.
saying I don't think it happens, but there is absolutely a world where enough improvement happens from different guys. Now, what is Jaden Ivey going to be as a rookie? I'm super high on Jaden Ivey, but is there a world where he's not great as a rookie? I think there is a world where that is true. So, there's just a whole lot of dynamics. So, Alec Burks, that's the other thing. How much do they want to win, guys? Because I think Alec Burks was a great addition to this roster. So, that's going to help them win games if they want to win games, if that's the ultimate goal. What kind of step does Saddiq Bey make? Because I've capped his ceiling as a quote-unquote number 3 option, but I'm more than happy to be proven wrong. I hope he goes out and averages 20-plus a game this season.
And I want to say, too, for people that hear that he could be a third option, guys, that's not a really bad thing. That's a good thing.
That's a great thing.
Look at the finals and look at each of those. Look at the Boston Celtics, their third option. Look at the Warriors and their third option. You could argue Clay is the Warriors' third option. And Clay's a pretty good player. So,
or Andrew Wiggins. If Saddiq Bey ends up having the impact that Clay or Andrew Wiggins has, yes, we'll take that.
That's big time, man. Big time.
Because saying third option doesn't mean that Saddiq Bey's talents are now diminished.
No,
that means
no,
that you've just brought in somebody even better, or that can affect
yes.
the team just as well as Saddiq Bey.
And how many number one options, like realistically, in the NBA do we really have that can win a championship?
Yeah,
like, is Donovan Mitchell a number one option on a championship team? Like, it's hard nowadays. You probably have a handful of guys.
Hey, Bryce, is anybody crying about us passing over Donovan Mitchell anymore?
I'm still crying.
We got Cade Cunningham, so.
But then we would never get
like
Cade, so I don't like that conversation.
Yeah,
and that's the thing, and that's
we'll
what.
Get into that one day.
Yeah, that's my thing with Cade Cunningham is you got to hope he becomes that number one option. And to my point earlier, if he is what we all think he is, it makes everything so much easier, right, Jeff? Because if you have the number one guy, the dude, then you can fill out the rest, you know. And maybe they never acquire a quote unquote number two. It's just you have three guys that are kind of in that Saddiq Bey realm where all of them can be the second fiddle, quote unquote, you know, on any given night. You know, maybe Saddiq one night, Jaden Ivey one night, Duren one night, so-and-so comes off the bench. Maybe Isaiah Livers drops 20. I love Isaiah Livers.
But that could be also because of Cade's game as well. I think Keith brought this up when Keith joined the show. Shout out to Keith from Pistons Twitter. He's great, historian. He brought up, he's like, Cade might not be your leading scorer in a couple years. And that stuck with me because the more I thought about it, he's absolutely right. Like, Cade might not be your leading scorer, but he's going to be your most impactful player, which says a lot. Like, that's still a big-time thing.
Welcome to the Chauncey Billups zone, where we talk all things Chauncey Billups.
That's a great example.
I was just sitting on it because that's the mold. We said restoration, right? And we have guards who, whether they are scoring the most or not on our championship teams, they clearly are that number one that makes everything else easier. Without Isaiah Thomas, things get much more difficult no matter what talent you have on that squad. But they were highly talented. They didn't even care if they were stacking guard talent like 40 going north. They had 3 all-star guards. No, 3 all-NBA guards.
Yeah, they did. They did.
like level talent. Like, think about that. Then you fast forward to the going to work team, and realistically, I don't even know how you parse who's the number one option. I guess you have to say, like we would say with Cade, not being the number one scorer every night, but being the number one impactful player. I don't know. I mean, Ben Wallace plays such a huge role on defense, man. He affected the game. But Chauncey was at least the guy that we considered the coach on the floor. That guy who, without him, we knew it's going to be a tough time to win, to look like a semblance of anything. With him there, then all those other guards looked even better. Now Mike James and Lindsey Hunter, they can look the way that they look.
Right.
You know, it was just different. We saw, oh my gosh, I don't know why I'm thinking about this. We saw how they looked, Doug, when they traded him.
Oh my God, yeah.
What did they start? Like 6-1?
Yeah.
And then they traded him, and then it was just,
downhill from there.
Oh my goodness. But Bryce, man, I know you have to run soon. Any last words on this segment? Because I'm glad that you talked about what some of the other players need to do, because that was going to be the full segment as well.
Can I ask you a question, Bryce, before you leave?
Yeah, no doubt.
I want to ask, just because I'm so curious to get your opinion on this. I heard from Brian Windhorst. I watched a video of his talking about the Pistons, and he said this quote. He said, if you want to lose a lot of games, you play young guards. And I want to get your opinion this year with that backcourt with Jaden Ivey and Cade. Like, what's a realistic? Because they got to learn to play together too. Obviously, Jaden Ivey looked good in summer league, but there was no Cade with them. And I think it'll be easy to play together. But I want to get your opinion. What are your expectations for these guys this year playing together, and then kind of tie that into how many wins you think that can lead up to with a young backcourt like that?
Yeah, I've said that I think that they're going to be a good fit because Jaden Ivey did play off ball, but there's going to be some figuring out between those two in terms of Jaden Ivey still had the ball in his hands a lot. So it's not like he never had it. It's not like he just ran off screens and those things. I think a lot depends on, we talk about this all the time, like the shooting. Is Jaden Ivey going to be able to knock down? Is Cade going to knock down shots from the 3-point line at a better clip than what he did last season? So I'm kind of in the 30-win realm for this team right now. I think that's where I'm at. I feel pretty comfortable there as the roster stands. I'm interested to see if another move is still coming from Troy Weaver. Like, I feel like there's one more in there with some of the stuff that's happened. But I think it's going to be an exciting backcourt. I think there's going to be flashes of like, oh my gosh, this is going to be really good. But I think there's going to be some awkwardness at times. Like, there's going to be times where both of them are waiting for the outlet pass, defensive rebound, and it's like, Jaden, run, like just get down the, or whatever. So it's going to take a little bit. Let's give it 20, 25 games to sort itself out. And a lot will depend on the shooting as well. They got to be able to knock down shots, keep that floor spacing.
It's true.
Yeah. I know we've made a lot about the athleticism that they've added, but you're right. The floor spacing is something that we are starting to say, ooh, Jalen Duren showing a little bit on tape. Beef Stew is hoping to bring what we've shown into this season. Cade Cunningham is hoping to be a better three-point shooter. Jaden Ivey is saying he can shoot, but it's still to be seen. If they can't stretch the floor, it's going to hamper
handcuff them a little
lot what the athleticism and their speed can
for
do.
Sure.
And then they're going to have to rely, hey, Adam, big boss in the building. Then they're going to have to rely on getting out in transition more, making sure that they're the ones getting the rebounds and limiting second chance points, because that's the thing that I'm worried about, their rebounds. I'm hoping that Jalen Duren injects a lot from that perspective. But, Marvin Bagley and Isaiah Stewart, they leave a little bit to be desired on that end.
Right.
It's not like we lost a lot of rebounding with Jerami Grant gone. But I don't know. The rebounding and the three-point shooting, that continues to be my biggest areas of concern. I believe defensively they're going to be better just by youthfulness. They're going to make a lot of youthful mistakes, but their speed, their athleticism, their length, their height, the types of players that have their IQ, I believe they're going to be a little bit better defensively after taking some lumps on the head. But they got to be able to rebound for that to really take place. But, Bryce, man, look, this has been fun. I don't want to hold you up. So any last words, definitely take it. But if you got to go, man, this has been awesome. I can't wait until we get into some of these other endeavors. Because your mind, bro, I love listening to you talk hoops.
I appreciate it. No, man, I had a blast. I wish I didn't have to go, but I do got to go and jump on another pod real fast. But I'm hoping I can join next week with Rod here.
Let's do it.
Rod's the man. He's been huge for my growth or whatever you want to call it. He was there early on and did some podcasts. I'll have to tell that story to give him his props. And I got to spend some time with him at Summer League. He's an incredible man. I'm so happy for him with his new job. And so I definitely want to come back next week if we can make it work.
Let's do it, man.
We definitely will. I appreciate you, man. And Rod, he's just been great for all of us, man, and for a lot of different people. I take a lot. I try to take a lot from him as it relates to how selfless he is and how much he wants to see other people succeed and do good, and pushes us to levels of excellence that that we might not have been trying to push towards prior or even been able to see. So, I'm glad that everybody who has any type of interaction with Rod Beard has that same type of report. And I'm hoping that we continue to go and push that same type of vibe forward, man. So I love it, man. I love it. That's what this community is about. That's why I love Pistons Twitter, really just the Pistons world in general. That's why I love it. So, Bryce.
Yep.
Thank you, brother. Motor
You're the man,
Hoops.
Bryce.
Yep. Plug everything where people need to see you, follow you, and all of that, brother.
Yeah. At Motor City Hoops on Twitter. Got a YouTube channel going if you want to check that out. Pistons and NBA draft content. And then the Pistons Pulse every Tuesday. Me and Omari Sankofa, the second Pistons beat writer for the Detroit Free Press. Brandon, Jeff, love you guys. Appreciate it. I'll text both of you. We'll chat later today. Man. Yep.
All right, sir. All right.
Deuce.
Take care.
Later.
Peace. Later. T. Foss, what's good, brother?
T. Foss. See, it's just a lot of basketball heads around this, man.
Ooh, and we got a lot on the way, brother.
I'm going to save this question for next week because I want to ask him, too, like, are people underrating, and I know we talked about this last pod, but the loss of Jerami Grant? Like, that's what I always think about. I continue to think about, too. Like, that's why – because if we factor in Sadiq, Jaden Ivey, and Cade, my answer is Sadiq, who really the X factor, because I feel like he's in position to step up and replace some of that Jerami Grant production. Mm-hmm. So I'd probably go with Sadiq, but I'm curious to see it. Because I don't know if Jaden Ivey, he's going to be good his rookie year, but 20 points is 20 points. And a guy like we talked about, you can get a ball too late in the game and be like, hey, go get it.
See, that's the reason why I believe they needed two impact players in this draft. That's why I continued to say I'm not going to be surprised if he goes and gets those 2 draft picks. That's why we covered as many picks as we did, as far down as we did, not because we thought that they could just trade back, which was a possibility, but because we thought they were seriously going to wind up with 2 first-round picks. They're trying to build on the fly. And if their window's closing, they needed 2 more high-impact players. Yeah. If Sadiq Bey is going to replace Jerami Grant, then you're going to need your draft pick from this year plus another draft pick to replace what you lose from Sadiq Bey. If he's going to replace what Jerami Grant brought to the table, that's only going to be a marginal increase to this team overall. So he can play the position, which is what Dwayne Casey said they were looking at last year. And when he showed he could play the 3 and the 4 interchangeably, hey, all right, T-Foss. Hey, we got some things on the way, I'm telling y'all. But look, when he showed that they can play it interchangeably, I believe that's what made Jerami Grant expendable. And I think Saddiq Bey is a little bit better rebounder. And he's shown some defensive chops. He got to get there. But with Ivy, you bring some more production, but how much can we depend on him as a rookie? How much of his mistakes is he going to have to come and sit on the bench and look at, hey, this is how the game is being played?
Right.
When you add in a Duren, now you're injecting a little bit more talent. Now on that plus-minus scale where we've lost a lot with Jerami Grant, Saddiq Bey is going to fill some of that void. Ivy plus Duren, that makes me a lot more comfortable, especially if Marvin Bagley is taking that step forward among some of these other players. Where it really settles in on, though, this is on Killian Hayes, Marvin Bagley, and Beef Stew. They are the elder statesmen. They are the ones, man. That's ultimately where this thing is going to rest. But I do believe Ivy and Duren, the second half of the season, is going to make life very, very, very easy.
Once they get catching strides, they keep going. I do also wonder, Rod brought this up, and it's a question I'm going to continue to ask because I need an answer to it. Who's replacing Jerami Grant defensively? That versatility he brings, because you could throw Jerami on Kevin Durant, you could throw him on Giannis, and he's not going to stop anybody. You can't really stop anybody in this league, but you can slow him down. Saddiq Bey, I think he could be a much better defender. He's not a great defender. I'm curious to see as he plays, 3 or the 4, how he matches up defensively. If he has to guard a guy like Kevin Durant, I think he has the mindset to, but physically, like you can't teach 6'9", with a 7-foot wingspan that Jerami Grant has. But that's what I'm curious about. I think Livers can step up a little bit and take some of that role, but still, like even Livers, I mean, Grant has 2 inches and a couple inches in his wingspan. It's just, I think he'll get that versatility back, but that's my biggest loss with Jerami. Just that versatility,
and then that might be the hole. That might be what they have to replace, just a wing. I don't know if it's a 3 or a 4, but that wing that can be that difference maker, because those don't just grow on trees. But if you can find one, we see that that's what is making the difference between a lot of these teams winning and not winning. And you're right. This team is going to have to change its defensive approach. If Saddiq Bey and Isaiah Livers, who are shorter than Jerami Grant, are going to play and defend those types of positions, then you're going to have to rely on a Jalen Duren, and that's why it's important having a guy like that really being on the help side and the weak side, being able to lock down things, being able to be a presence or a threat. This is where Beef Stew and Marvin Bagley have to take those steps forward defensively.
Yeah, I think Bagley too, especially.
Yeah, because he's going to play too important a role on the offensive side of things to be out there and allow the other team's centers and guards to just kind of act like he's not there defensively. You got to have somebody who, if Saddiq Bey can make sure, look, I'm not going to let Kevin Durant or I'm not going to let this player or that player get busy out here. I'm going to force Giannis to his weak hand into the paint. But Duren, Bags, I need y'all there to make a tough pass, a tough outlet pass for him.
Yeah.
That's what this team is going to have to do for this year. I know that there's some players in this draft, and I'm going to be talking to Bryce. Let's be talking this week, man, about some of these players that he's already breaking down that I believe can fit that mold. But that's an interesting one for next week. Who's going to be able to fill that void? Because I think that's the hole on this team right now.
Yeah. And I'd love to hear Bryce's opinion on it, especially filling that void defensively for Jerami Grant.
Yep. And I'm glad he talked about some of the players that need to step up. He mentioned some of the things that we did as well with Beef Stew being able to stretch the floor. Marvin Bagley and his defense needed to take that next step in that evolution. Again, I don't believe he's a bad defensive player. I believe that there's some tendencies he can be taught and some tendencies he needs to break that comes from just not playing. Yeah,
and you got to think he played in Sacramento for 3-4 years of just no discipline. Sacramento. He sat in Sacramento. Thank you for that.
Yeah, they
didn't have much of a support system, and not only that, he wasn't held accountable.
Well, he got less. Really, he got less than Drummond got in the beginning. I mean, think about it, man. Like they weren't even caring about him.
Yeah. Like, at the time, I mean, the Kings were. I mean.
They weren't even caring about. Like his dad is like, save my son.
Yeah, they wanted him out of Sacramento,
here, bro.
And then he came here for that stretch of games, and I don't think it's not like he came here and was like, all right, I'm gonna get good defensively. He was like, all right, I got to get some buckets because that's my role. That's how I show my value. He played well, but I think this year Dwayne Casey's like, all right, You're too physically gifted not to be a good defender.
Yep.
Like he is. And he was good in college, but again, it's at the collegiate level. I think he can step up and do it at the NBA level though.
So that's
I think he can.
The biggest hole, and I do. You're right. I want to talk about that with Bryce. I want to see what his mind is seeing on this as well. So we're gonna get him on next week. We're definitely gonna make that happen. We're gonna try and get Mike on next week too. But I'm gonna try and get Mike in studio if we can. This is gonna be awesome because it's defensively. It's defensively, I think, the biggest loss with Jerami Grant. We cannot undersell that.
No.
We cannot. No. We saw what it did for Denver. We saw what he was able to do here for the Pistons and keep some people in check and be able to just, hey, I can go one-on-one here. He may get his, but that's all he's going to get.
Yeah, he's like, I'll stay home. I got you.
Yeah, I'll stay home. And that allows these other players to be able to be a little bit more responsible to their defensive assignments as well. They don't have to worry about, oh, crap, this guy can't guard his player. Now I'm getting dunked on, or now I have to run over here to do this or do that.
Right.
You know, that's what Jerami Grant brings, and a certain stability down the stretch.
And Jerami didn't play with a shot blocker. Think about that, bro. Like, he didn't have no Duren to send him into. He didn't have Nerlens Noel to send him into. He had Isaiah Stewart, who's good. Noel. He's scrappy. But think about that. He was staying home like, listen, I got nobody down there to save my ass. And I give him credit. That's why I've always loved Jerami Grant, man. He's as much flack as he's gotten in Detroit. And I know the timeline didn't make sense. Mm-hmm. You still appreciate a lot of the stuff he did.
It made sense until we got the honestly, the basketball gods dropped a gift right in our lap, and that was Cade Cunningham.
Yeah.
That's
probably true.
And that's
because you ain't paying him for 120 or whatever he wanted. But I love Jerami. I mean,
I love him. I love what he brings, and man, I part of me is hoping or wishing maybe he goes out to Portland and whatever reality check, and that there's some weird, strange way he's able to be here for like the stretch run. Because when he came into Detroit, it was what he stated about wanting the city, wanting this culture, wanting what they were building, wanting what they were representing. And even as he was leaving, stating, I'm still taking that with me. I'm still going to keep my vibes with the city.
Still shows a lot of love back to Detroit.
Still shows a lot of love back to Detroit,
even
man.
And
his camp, man. Shout out to his camp as well. So definitely, it's going to be an interesting talk next week. We got to get into that. What are we losing? How are they going to replace it? What should they be looking at? And what are we missing? That's something that I know Bryce is going to be able to bring up. Talking about defense, though, I wanted to get into this one last subject, man, before we close up. Kendrick Perkins said.
Perk is.
Shout out Big Perk.
You got to get Perk on the podcast one time. He's the real man. He's the real deal.
We got to, dog. Look, I got it up here. It was on Woodward Sports. Shout out Woodward Sports, the parent company. Y'all see it right there.
Sir.
He said, I strongly believe the 2004 Detroit Pistons would have beat any team in any era in a 7-game series. That is arguably the greatest defensive team in NBA history. And you know his tag. Don't mind me, though, and carry on.
Love that. Carry on.
Hold on, bro.
See, think about, and I think what Perk is hitting on too, because people see that initially, and listen, if you don't live in Michigan, you're like, what? No. Especially if you're a Lakers fan, you're like, oh my, no, we just, that finals, man, it was a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, and think about it. If you're talking basketball and you look at that team from just, let's take the start lineup, for example. Where's the weakness? Who are you going after? Everybody can hold their own offensively and defensively. Like, that's a tough team to play against. It ain't like it's a 1-2 punch. All right, we'll let this guy get his 30. We'll shut down everybody else. No, if you shut down him, Rip Hamilton's going to step up. Yep. If you try and shut down Rip Hamilton, maybe Tayshaun gets some buckets. Maybe you got Rasheed going off. You got Ben Wallace holding it down.
But think about it.
Like, it's...
Bro, the Pistons didn't get shut down because you could not shut them down. They had off nights. That 04 team, that's what they were. Like, I try to tell people that you can't scheme them out of their game. You can say, let's zone them because they were not the greatest three-point shooting team. But that was about all that could realistically slow that team down because they ran their sets to perfection. They had point guard supreme. That is Chauncey Billups.
Extension of the coach.
I'm tired of people not giving him his due, bro.
Yeah.
This man won a championship and almost took out prime San Antonio Spurs. Probably should have. But that team ran their sets to a T, and they took out defensive stalwarts, bro. They took out the Pacers. They took out the Nets.
It's true. Out-schemed them.
Outworked
crazy.
them. just absolutely knew what to do. They knew, hey, it's time to drop the temperature a little bit. This game will be 60-something to 60-something. And we're going to punch you over and over again in the stomach, and then again and again and again, and we're going to walk away. Sorry. And then when we got to the Lakers, we don't even need to punch y'all, bro. They didn't even need to punch, bro. They were blowing them out. There were games like 100
Ben Wallace
something
was
to
hitting
80 something.
15-footers. I'm like, I had to check my glasses. I'm like, is that Ben? Out there splashing 15.
Like, his stroke, bro. Like, no, we watched too much of this.
No, dude. And I got to say, too, like, with this team, and you kind of mentioned it already, like, every dude can hold their own. And honestly, too, like, with Chauncey, the extension of the coach, that's a tough team to play because they make you play their game.
Exactly.
They make, no matter who you are, you could be Joe Schmo, you could be Kobe Bryant. It doesn't even matter who you are. You walk into the Palace in Auburn Hills, you're playing their game. Yep. Like, they're going to make you play a dirty, low-scoring game defensively. Like, you're going to have to put your head on a swivel. And I think it's kind of like, obviously not as bad as the bad boys' head on a swivel, but still, they're going to make you lock in and play their game. So that was the benefit of them, man. Yep. Doesn't matter who you are.
Yep.
You're playing our game.
And I know he was saying defensively, but there's two parts to it. He said there would be any team in a 7-game series, and they're arguably the best defensive team. I don't want people to slight their offense because when they got to that finals, their offense took off. When they had to go into that defensive slugfest, it was just a different game. I don't think people understand that. When you're playing against physical people, it's not that you cannot score, but they weren't just playing physical. Those matchups against the Pacers, bro, we already understand that there was a whole lot more to it. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm going in for a layup, but when I'm also trying to sneak the elbow in at you as well, I might miss that.
Like wearing you down.
I'm not even caring about you, bro. Right. Like, I'm going to dribble 24 seconds this whole clock out because I'm going to run you through Ben Wallace picks or the Pacers is running us through Jermaine O'Neal picks time and time again. These guys were playing a completely different game. They were like, I'm going to slug you and slug you and slug you. They were not out here to play, hey, let's go out here and play Hollywood. And that's what the East was then, man. When they got to the Lakers, it almost seemed like it was a breath of fresh air. They were like, oh, shoot.
Yeah.
We can get out here and play.
Coming out the trenches to get there.
Yeah, and who did the Lakers run out there, dog? Like the ghost of Karl Malone and Gary Payton. Bro, the glove didn't fit. Shots. We
got to. Remember, we're a little biased, man. You see the Pistons, you see the Rip Hamilton jersey. Like, come on, man. Above my man Kool-Aid. It's just how it works.
Look, there's no way that I could even be drinking this Kool-Aid because this is about the history. The thing is, people probably thought we were then, but we knew what we beat, bro. Right. If we didn't win in 2004, the Pacers. Ooh, this is a great talk for later. I believe the Pacers win. I believe they win in 2004.
They were like our arch nemesis.
That's why they came in the next year like skip y'all, man.
Man, screw you. Let me start beating ass, man. I'm done with this. No, but
they state that too. They say, bro, they took our championship from us.
Yeah.
They're so good, bro, that they beat the Lakers and took championships from other teams.
That's what happens when you count. You try to count. You count your money before you get it. They were like, we're winning the championship this year, man. We're good enough. We can win it. Hell no. Doesn't work like that.
Yeah, offensively, I think that they wore other teams down so much that by the time those other teams came down to do offense, when you're playing ball, especially by the fourth quarter of any game, bro, and you're just tired and worn out, your legs are a little going, your offense, your instinct, your this, your that. And we saw teams make uncharacteristic mistakes against those Pistons. Mm-hmm. And I'm hoping that this current iteration is a squad that can force people into uncomfortable measures to the point that they make uncharacteristic mistakes and such. But that team, they were just wearing people down offensively, as well as bringing absolutely everything that they had on the defensive side with the ability to go one-on-one offensively and defensively at all 5 positions, even off the bench, bro. So if they're bringing in Lindsey Hunter off the bench,
that's true.
I can strap up. Hey, you guys go away. Lindsey Hunter was able to guard Kobe Bryant by himself.
He a dog, man.
Think about that. He was able to say, all right, I got Kobe. You go get a rest, Rip. You go get a rest, Chauncey. You go get a rest, Tayshaun. That's huge. When you can literally say 3-man rotation and your guard off the bench can defend a 2 or a 3. That's huge, bro. Just because of that grit and that dog they had. And did they shy away from it? Him and Mike James were what, the pit bulls? Off the bench? That's what they called them, man. Hey, listen, you guys tell us in the comments. Y'all let us know. Is Kendrick Perkins is a cap? No cap, man. Is he telling the truth here? Because to me personally, sometimes, people can say I could be known to drink the Kool-Aid, but I believe with that squad going into that series, I was more scared of the Pacers and the Nets. I really was.
I agree with that.
I
agree with that, man. And also, too, for people that are going to comment down below, for us, when you asked the question initially, the best defensive team, absolutely. I think so, just because of what you just said. They can go one-on-one offensively. Take away offensively, defensively. I mean, listen, I don't need no help. Every one of them. And I think them beating any team in a 7-game series, maybe that's arguable. But, again, they beat one of the best 1-2 punches in NBA history.
Yeah, I don't want to downplay that.
You can't downplay that. That might be the best 1-2 punch. I mean, I'll even say it that far. I mean, I think I would take Kobe and Shaq over Scottie and Michael Jordan. But still, it's all hypothetical. So, but yeah, I'm agreeing. I don't care.
Get into those hypotheticals. Like I said, y'all stay tuned. We got some things in the work. That's the type of conversation we're gonna be having on the show with Bryce.
Definitely.
Straight up. Like I'm telling you, just from an analytical standpoint and just from really, really, really getting into it, I'm looking forward to stretching our legs that way, and that's gonna be for the basketball purists.
He's excited
out there. Definitely excited. Look at that. Boy, got that game face on. Boy, Motor City Hoops in the building. Like, whoa.
I love when we do that.
Sheesh. But yeah, like, hey, man, shout out to Kendrick Perkins, man. You know,
yeah, he always shows love to Detroit, man.
He always does. And it's not like he looks up to that team in awe from an era that he didn't play in. He played against those guys.
He gets it.
He gets it. And didn't he play with Rasheed? Did he play with Rasheed?
With the Celtics? With the Celtics. Yeah, you're right.
Yep.
Yeah, he knows Rasheed personally.
Yep. And that's the thing. It was like, I remember those games, man. We knew this. If Rasheed Wallace gets in his own head, then he takes himself out. Who was going to shut down Rasheed Wallace? You just could not shut down the physicality that he brought to the game.
No.
And then defensively, the stuff that him and Ben Wallace did, I know that Ben Wallace is going to always be the one recognized for the defense that team put in, as well as what he himself did. Not taking nothing from him. But what the Wallace brothers were doing, anybody who was watching that during that time knows they were called the Wallace Bros, and they were doing the whole the little arm thing, bro. Everybody,
hype, dude.
Everybody knows that they were doing that, and they were absolutely. There's highlight reels still out there of them absolutely wrecking people. I'm talking about Ben Wallace. People pump faking Ben Wallace. He's in the air and still gets the block. But then somebody else gets the ball in the same position, and then Rasheed Wallace is getting the block.
Bro.
Like that type of stuff. Or Ben Wallace playing one-on-one defense, shades somebody, lets them take the spin inside, but then Rasheed Wallace is right there for the block.
Like it's almost like they're mentally connected as well. Like they understand each other. And I think Rasheed deserves more credit because of, especially in the finals, man, like he was matching up with Shaq. Shaq's the most dominant presence in NBA history.
Talk about that.
Don't
talk about that. He did match up against Shaq. Man,
give that man the respect he deserves. I know Pistons fans do, but everybody else start recognizing Rasheed was that dude.
He was that dude.
He was that dude, man.
But that's the reason why, yes, it is arguable. But the reason why it's arguable is because of the things that we're talking about. This isn't a situation where you just dismiss them and say, nah.
That's ignorant to me.
Not those guys.
Like, not actually analyzing it, just being like.
I mean, when you parse it, I don't believe people understand how good Richard Hamilton was. I don't believe they understand how good Richard Hamilton was, especially during his prime, during those playoff runs. Like, how many points did he score during the playoffs?
Automatic.
I don't want to be wrong. Let me look this up before I state it, because I believe he is the Pistons' all-time leading playoff scorer.
My man was running sprints around like Klay Thompson. Like, he's one of those guys you have to chase. Like, you're playing tag with him at all times. And he was knocking down shots, too. So, Rip Hamilton, he's one of my favorite Pistons of all time.
Richard Hamilton.
He's that man, dude.
2,467 all-time leading playoff points.
His playoff rip.
Bro, he is – how much do you – hold on. Richard Hamilton, right? Everybody kept talking about, why can't he score 20 points a game in the regular season? Because he did it in the playoffs, bro. That's 20.1 points per game when it mattered.
That's where you make your money?
That's – he passed. He's just ahead of Isaiah Thomas, who has 2,261 points for a 20.4 average. Rip was at 20.6 points per game average. So he's leading in the points per game average as well as total points. That is huge, bro.
I think they almost got to the point where they knew it was Rip time in postseason. Like, Chauncey was like, get this man set up. We'll get this thing going. Like, even if Chauncey had to take a little step back, it's not like he wasn't any less effective. It was just like, listen, Rip's that dude.
Bro, you know what a step back was for Chauncey? Literally taking a step back and hitting a three. You know why? Because then Rip was going to be wide open. Boy, that lane opened wide up, bro.
Yeah.
I love talking about that team, man. I really do because they did things the right way.
The block by Tayshaun, you can go through it all, bro.
That's what I'm talking about.
The whole squad has every person has a highlight.
Do you know how much people dismiss people like Rip and Tay? But when you look at this man averaged 20.6 points per game in the playoffs for a championship winning team. And during the championship series season, he averaged more points per game during that playoff run. That's huge. That means the playoffs came and all these guys said, all right, it's time to really, really, really get this thing going. Assists are all-time leading assist getters. Isaiah Thomas, 987. This is playoff leaders at 8.9. Who's number 2? Chauncey.
Chauncey.
Yeah.
Billups.
Yeah. Number 2 is Joe Dumars. Rebounds, who's the all-time leader? Ben Wallace. Second is Bill Laimbeer. Ben Wallace,
steals?
1,237. Laimbeer, 1097. Dennis Rodman, 766. But we just keep sitting here saying these guys hold their own. It's like, was Rasheed Wallace even here that long? It doesn't matter because he's number 4 in all-time playoff rebounding. That's what I'm saying. These guys
each do their own part.
Ooh, they were out there hooping. I'm trying to get all
ridiculous.
the rest of it. You said steals?
Yeah. I wonder if Rasheed is up there. Rasheed and Ben are probably up there too for steals. Who's up there number 1?
Bro, playoff. Hold on. All right. Shout out to the legend Isaiah Thomas. Like, my word, Zeke, bro. 234 playoff steals.
Well, yeah, he's number 1, clear cut.
All right, hold on.
He was insane. He was taking people's lunch money. He was taking people's lunch money.
Let me make sure this is playoffs. Let me make sure. Playoffs. All-time leaders in playoffs. All right, number 2. It's a huge drop-off between number 1 and number 2. There's about 60 steals in between.
Back then, it was just like.
But,
give me that.
dude, no, the Going to Work team was official, bro. All right, who do you think is number 2?
I'll say Ben Wallace.
Right, with 172. Who do you think is number 3?
It's a tough one. I'm gonna go with Rasheed.
No,
Tayshaun.
No, it surprised
Chauncey.
me. It surprised me. Rip, bro.
Rip that dude.
120.
Come on.
Hold on. I would have never guessed this. All right.
So wait, that man was scoring 20 points and
this is what I'm saying, bro.
Turnovers for you.
Offense and defense, they could go one-on-one, bro.
Damn.
Who do you think? All right. So 1, 2, 3. Who's number 4?
Well, it's got to be one of the guys I just said.
Chauncey at 118.
Chauncey, yeah.
Number 5 is Tayshaun with 101.
Tayshaun.
Then
Everybody's in that.
Hold on. Then Joe Dumars has 91. Then Rasheed at 89. Then Lindsey Hunter with 88.
The whole squad in the top 10?
Bro, the 3-guard rotation.
That's nuts.
That's wild, bro.
See, that puts it in perspective for people, too.
Then Vinny Johnson. Both 3-guard rotations are in the top 10 in steals for all-time playoffs.
You think Killian, Cade, and Jaden Ivey can get there? They all got the defensive upside to do it. I think so. Killian's already that dude, I think, in terms of defensively.
Defense, yeah.
I think Jaden Ivey can get. He's got the physical tools to get there.
Yep.
And Cade averaged 1.2 his rookie year. You can't get that to 1.5, 1.3, 1.4.
I believe he can. There were some steals that I know people call fouls, and even beyond steals. In the playoffs, we know that they can get there because of the way that the game is called. So if they get there, we have the players that are some dogs. Their style of game is going to get them some steals in the playoffs. In the regular season is where they need to hone it in a little bit more so that they get the respect that they need come playoff time. Because Cade did get called a lot for reaching in. So he has to, from a defensive standpoint, get a little bit more sound principally. And we're going to get into that. That's why I said that type of talk, for the basketball purists, stay tuned because it's on the way. But you're right. That's the mode that they should be looking at. We see the championship mode here. We see the championship mode. We don't see not one champion on here. This is legitimately both 3-guard rotations. The best big man, Bill Laimbeer, is on here at 84. I mean, who's the best big man from that championship team?
From the Bad Boys?
Yeah, I mean, we got Bill, we got Rick.
Yeah, Mahorn.
I feel like I'm stupidly.
John Sally,
Dennis.
Yeah, Dennis and Bill Laimbeer.
I'm surprised Dennis. Well, he didn't have the length, I guess. But yeah, these are the championship teams, man. Like, goodness gracious. 3-pointers made. Chauncey Billups, 198. Rasheed Wallace, 131. Tayshaun Prince, 97. Isaiah Thomas, 81. Richard Hamilton, 66. Lindsey Hunter, 55. Bro, Cliff Robinson, Chucky Atkins are on there too. But they're going to work Pistons, man. They free throws made. Chauncey and Rip are at the top, right above Isaiah and Joe. Then Tayshaun and John Sally for free throws. They're kind of John Sally and Tayshaun were kind of a similar type, I guess, players. But just looking through these playoff stats, man, you see assists, the whole starting five, except Ben Wallace is an assist.
I feel like these stats are trying to tell us is every time Detroit has won a championship, they've had multiple guys that can affect the game in multiple ways.
On both ends of the court.
That's what that's telling me.
That versatility that we see Troy Weaver going after, we see him not just going after guys with, they have all the measurables, but guys who have an IQ, a hunger, a desire, a chip on their shoulder, guys who can be asked to do more than they were in college.
Right.
Clearly, Jalen Duren was not asked to do what he could actually do.
Underutilized, man.
Severely. Jaden Ivey, he has stated, I wasn't, just the flashes we saw, just the quick flashes we saw in Summer League, he had already shown more than I believed he was going to be able to show, and more than I thought he showed in college. Just on some flashes, just some ways spacing. I believe he can be utilized. Yep. Because he had no spacing in college. Guys, go back and look at Jaden Ivey's clips. There are whole games where he's breaking away from double teams and full court presses and just making it look like on the back end of the clips. People are like, look at this fast break play. And it's like, bro, I watched the game. That was in half court.
He had three dudes in a paint, and he's going in there trying to make plays.
What do you think, though? Because we see that the bigs, or at least one or two bigs, are on there on most of these stats, from threes, which is important, steals and assists, as well as points. But we do see the three-guard rotation present in almost all of these all-time Piston playoff stats. We see the three-guard rotation from both the bad boys as well as the going-to-work era. And you pose a great question. Is Cade, Ivy, and Killian, are they that battery? Can they get there as it relates to guards? I believe
that's a conversation we got to have again.
Yeah, I'm not going to answer that now. One. we can't. We got to have a little bit more basketball mind zone. But you guys, let us know what you think.
Yeah,
the trends you see. You know, I'm glad we kind of took this trip down memory lane because I wanted to instantly say I think the bad boys, and I got to see the runs. You know, obviously all-time games played matters. And let me see for playoffs games played.
And the going to work Pistons, they were in. I mean, man.
It was close, actually.
Multiple Eastern Conference Finals, and then the bad boys made deep playoff runs.
Bro,
how many was it?
It was close. Like Rip Hamilton played 120 playoff games. Tayshaun Prince played 118. Those are our leaders. Bill Laimbeer played 113. Joe Dumars 112. Chauncey Billups 111. Isaiah Thomas 111. Vinny Johnson 108. Lindsey 105. Sheed 103. Sally 95. So Sally would be a little bit further up in that list if he played a few more games, but we see it's pretty close there, man, which means that these guys made an impact similar to the bad boys Pistons, but we see them showing up in a few more stats, and I get it. The counting stats, they're going to get a little bit of a bump if they get just a few more games, but that's huge. That's huge, man. Wow. What a restoration. What a restoration model.
Time's coming.
It's on the way, man. I think that's a wrap on this one, man, unless there's anything else you wanted to bring up.
No, it was fun, man. I like talking. Anytime we can talk about the going to work Pistons of the bad boys, sign me up. Yep. I love doing it, man. Just chopping it up.
Yeah, especially when it's not to just lick our wounds. We can actually talk about this team, those teams, as it relates to how this team is doing things right or wrong.
Yeah.
And we see this team trying to do things the right way. We see them making moves succinctly, and they're not moving at anybody's pace other than their own. And that is what I love. And they're not like, oh, we're going to move slow just to move slow. They're like, look, if it's the right time to bite, they're going to bite. And we see them go out there and get 2 first-round picks and 3 first-round picks and such. You know, they're his first draft, 3 first-round picks, followed by Cade, followed by 2 first-round picks.
He's playing 2K.
2K Troy?
That's a good one, actually.
2K Troy or 2K Weave? What is it called?
I like 2K Troy.
2K Troy. That's it, man. 2K Troy, man. Y'all heard it here first. Woodward Pistons. 2K Troy. That man is out here doing other things. But look, shout out to the legend Rob Beard, who couldn't be here. Shout out to Motor City Hoops Bryce, who graciously came onto the show, blessed us with his basketball knowledge, and we look forward to having him on more. And we're also going to be having him on the network a little bit more.
Oh, absolutely.
But for Rod, we still got to do that drum roll. We'll keep it. We'll keep it consistent.
Oh, of course.
To the legend Detroit News, Rob Beard. Hey, yo, bro, stay safe. And for Woodward Pistons, I'm Detroit Kool-Aid. This is Mr. Everything, Jeff Iafredi.